So the problem we had is obviously the property slopes away and it slopes downhill on both sides. So we had a lot of rainwater. The prior owners had clear cut the entire property. So there wasn't a single tree. There was just tracks, machine tracks everywhere, and these big piles of duff and debris, just stumps, limbs, trees. So we cleaned all that out, but then we started getting the erosion of the soil. So what we did to combat that is we started channeling the streams to go to known areas. So you'll see that in the back, we've got a pond, and in the front, we've got 2 ponds, which are really catchment basins. They catch the water, and they allow the water to pool. So a big rain event will prevent the erosion that was happening because the water is captured in the retention basins and then slowly allowed to leave the property. So what you're gonna see is we have the first pond or retention basin, whatever you want to call it, is basically where the water pooled and it became a muddy bog. And so over time, as we spread that mud out, which is like a dry, silty soil, we started to develop a bigger and bigger pond and less mud, if that makes sense. So the mud got spread out on top. It's now solidified and we've got grass coming up. The retention basin fills up where the mud was and then slowly dissipates.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the mud, honestly, is the soil that was washing down.
Yeah.
And when it would stop, like you see this little bench area where the pond is, where it would stop there, the soil, this would be, in the summertime, it was this dry, like powdery, fine, like flour dirt.
Yeah, it was very light.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you step your foot into it and it's a puff of cloud. I mean, it's just super light. So we spread that out, and that is what slowly bore out the pond as we compacted the soil and planted grass and spread out that dry, powdery soil. We got basically this pond.
Right. So TD, we're coming up on the first retention area right here, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this is, you dug out channels, or we dug out channels alongside the road, if I remember right?
Yeah, yeah, and those were basically washing out because what would happen is all the water would roll down to here and create a big mud bog. Then it would overflow this area and go down the hill. Where all these trails were basically areas where there was logging trails that were left behind, and the water flowed down and rutted them all out.
Gotcha.
So what we did is we would bring the box blade and the tractor and fill the ruts out and, you know, just clean it up and smooth it back out.
Right.
But yeah, this basically was just mud. And as we slowly over the years, as we spread out the mud, the silt, we were left with the pond and firm soil now. So it doesn't, you know, like if you were riding a motorcycle or a four-wheeler near this thing,
mm-hmm.
it would be like a tractor beam. It would just suck you in.
Suck you right down, yeah.
And we were getting all kinds of stuff stuck because we were trying to get all of the stumps, and we were letting people come in and cut wood and take it home with them.
Mm-hmm.
But when they drive on the roads, they'd get stuck because this muddy crap.
That's right.
So as we spread it out, now it's firm ground. You can see this is all firm ground. But, and we've got grass coming up, and we don't have the muddy bog we used to have.
Right, right.
Same thing down at the bottom was happening. I'll show you that area.
Yeah, let's go take a look at that. So this is the first retention pond.
Yep, and then this is actually a dry riverbed right next to the road, which is what we put in there in the beginning. The water flows down this, basically like a river. When the pond overflows, it flows down this dry riverbed into the second retention pond, which fills up. In a big rain event, it prevents, you know, the water from going down the road and, you know, washing out the road.
Right.
But it fills up, and then it'll go over another spillway and continue down the road.
Gotcha.
But it has to fill up first. So this dry riverbed, which isn't running now, I wish you could see it, it's pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
But that basically channels the river from the first detention basin to the second one.
Gotcha. Now this one's a little deeper than the previous one, it looks like. Yeah, you can definitely see this dry riverbed right here.
Yeah. Yeah, and basically just the river, the water just carved that out, and we kind of followed it and kept putting rocks in there.
Naturally.
Yeah, just, you know, naturally it's kind of following that direction. So we kept putting rocks in there in the low so that, you know, it slows down that erosion. You know,
this is great. Yeah, you definitely don't want all that stormwater coming down and covering the road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and what's nice about it is this one will fill up. And again, what we did over here is, I'll show you when we get over to the side, we put a dam up to the right here that's higher than the culvert. So the pond has to fill up, go up and over the rock dam, and then down to the culvert over there, so that it keeps all of the debris, the dirt, and, you know, stumps, all that stuff
away from this,
in the retention basin and out of our culvert.
Yeah, no, that's great. Looks like a riverbed.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Well, and the main reason why there's so much water, 6 feet down underneath the top of the ground, there's a clay layer, and it's a really hard, clay layer. So the water won't go through it. So it all the rain that hits this hill ends up rolling downhill.
Here's where it ends up.
And we get a lot of water from uphill, from our neighbor's property that flows down. It all kind of flows down this way and then continues down the road.
You got the dam built over here.
Yeah, basically the water fills up in this second retention basin, and then when it hits the top of the, you can't see them, but there's in that direction there's a culvert, which is below the water level. So right now nothing's flowing until the water comes up another 6 inches or so. Then it will flow downhill to the culvert under the road and continue down the road.
Gotcha. Seems to be effective so far, yeah?
Yeah, before we were getting it, the road was getting, all the rocks were getting washed out onto the road, and all the water was coming down the road.
That's right.
And it was going right onto the street.
I remember that. It was sheeting during those heavy rains.
Yeah, so we finally got rid of that.
Oh, that's awesome. It's amazing the power of a little bit of machinery, you know?
Yeah, right.
Or a lot of machinery.
Yeah. Well, and what was crazy is this last rain event, we had 6 inches of snow, and it all piled up. And then when it started melting, it started raining. And we had 2 record-breaking rain days where it snowed over 2 inches, or 3 record-breaking rain days. Rained over 2 inches in 3 days.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And the compact of that is the first time we've ever seen the retention basin at the bottom overflow.
Yeah.
But it still maintained, you know, no water got on the road.
On the road, yeah.
So it was nice, you know.
No, that's great. Nice test.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, TD, do you have anything else to add for this entire system? I mean, this property's what, 15, 16 acres?
Yeah, 15 acres, yeah.
Yes, that's quite a lot of runoff, especially since it's all in one hill.
I would say when people are designing their house, you really just need to think about the soils and think about the water and your erosion plan, because as you can see, I mean, water can create such a nightmare.
Yeah.
You know, we had a plan, and that plan was really just not robust enough to encounter or overcome the water that we were getting from the neighbor's property, as well as the water that was coming down our property.
Yeah, because this is a lot of hill for the water to come down. So.
Yeah. Well, and it doesn't drain into the soil fast.
Right.
The soil doesn't absorb it. Like this pond. Yeah,
especially with that clay layer that you have down there.
Yeah, this pond will stay here for sometimes, you know, a month.
Yeah. No, it's pretty extensive. So when people are buying property especially, I mean, it's something to take into consideration.
Yeah, your soil erosion.
Yeah, soil erosion, and you know, some people might plan to do certain things with the land that they buy, but you may be limited by these sort of issues.
Oh yeah.
So, okay, well, that'll pretty much wrap it up for this video. Go ahead and get some drone footage for you guys, and see you in the next one.
Nice.